What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching me, hi, my name is Janine, and today's video is going to be a reading wrap-up. I haven't done one of these yet, and I'm sorry if there's like a weird echo. I am in the bathroom, I'm on vacation, I'm in San Francisco. You're like on a skincare shelf right now, but this is the room that has the best lighting, so here we are. But I have been having a fun time with reading so far. It is currently March 31st. So I figured I would do a little quarter wrap up of just everything that I've read so far this year. So without further ado, let's just get on into this video. So far in 2025, I have read 18 of my 50 book goal, which I'm honestly pretty surprised by how much. I definitely read way more in January, and I've only finished 2 books so far this month, but it is what it is, really. So my most read genres have been fantasy and romance, both have 6 books, and then 4 politics, 2 biographies, and 2 fiction. My average rating so far this year has been a 4.5. Which I do love that because I love enjoying what I read. And then my most read author this month has been Rebecca Yarros, obviously. So starting out the year, I finished A Merry Little Meet Cute. I did start it in 2024, but I finished it in 2025. That was a 3.5. It was, I don't know, I really wouldn't recommend it, but it was my first time reading like a Christmas rom-com. Basically, these 2 characters meet up in this small like Christmassy town, and the girl is a adult filmmaker, you should say, and it's like she has an OF, but book way of having an OF. And then the guy used to be in a boy band. She was always obsessed with this boy band, but she doesn't want to show that she knows who he is, and he follows her adult site, and he doesn't want her to know that he knows who she is. So they're like pretending that they don't know each other, but they have to work together on this Christmas movie, and chaos ensues. I did really like the mental health representation that was in this book. Like the spiced, it was like, it was good. It wasn't like amazing. So I just gave it a 3.5. I feel like I didn't feel the characters like or need for each other. It just felt like they were like physically attracted to each other, and I was like, okay. After A Merry Little Meet Cute, I listened to Little Stranger. That was another book that I was just finishing in 2025, and I gave that a 4.25. I really liked it, but there were like some parts where it just felt really slow to me, and it wasn't till like 70% in that I was just like, whoa, what is happening? And then it started going really fast. It was really good for what it was, and so that's why it's a 4.25, but it wasn't like unforgettable amazing, so it's not gonna be any higher than that. Little Stranger's like a taboo dark romance. Definitely check trigger warnings if you're going to be going into that, if you need trigger warnings. I usually don't check trigger warnings because I find like they spoil things in books, but if that's something that you need, check trigger warnings on that one. I also finished Soul of a Witch, which was the 3rd in the Souls trilogy. I absolutely loved that book. I would probably put it, like, favorites of that series was Soul for Revenge, which is the 2nd one, and then Soul of a Witch, and then the first one, Her Soul Will Take. But Soul of a Witch, I can't explain too much without giving away the first 2 books. The character that you've met before, well, no, you've met both of them in the other 2 books, but you're not supposed to know that this person's a witch. So the fact that the book is called Soul of a Witch, if I tell you the name, you then know that they're a witch. So we're just gonna skate through that one. There's a dark romance trilogy with demons and angels and gods and like all this stuff. Highly recommend. It was very like, it's kind of like murder mystery. There's cult, there's a lot of killing. It's really good. 2nd one's my favorite though. And then I read Fourth Ring, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. I have reread Fourth Ring and Iron Flame because I had read them before. This time I listened to the graphic audio, and it completely broke me. I don't even want to think about it. I just did my makeup. But yeah, if you want the full breakdown vlogs of both of those. But Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm were all 5 stars. Again, Onyx Storm was 5 stars. I was put into a very bad reading slump after that and have barely been able to crawl myself out of it. But try I did. And so I listened to Too Much and Never Enough by Mary L. Trump. It's a book written by like President Trump's daughter, no, niece, his niece, who is a psychologist, and what the dynamic was like and how she kind of psychoanalyzes Trump. Very interesting read. Due to my job, I will not be elaborating on that. I rated it a 3.75. I'm studying psychology. I want to be a psychologist. So I found this absolutely fascinating, and there were a lot of points that I was just like, it makes so much sense. Doesn't mean it's right, but it makes so much sense. So I did enjoy it. Though it was kind of hard to follow because of the timeline that she explains it in. She kind of explains things in categories with a bunch of different timelines within each category. So this is when she's 7, and then she's 24, and then she's 17 to tell you this overarching information. And then she's 12 again, and then she's like, and so it's kind of hard to follow exactly what's going on. But once I got the hang of that was the way she was writing it, it was a lot easier to follow. And I do like that she explained it that way. I feel like it's easier because her story is about Trump, not her. And so trying to explain everything in the situations, not chronologically, but by topic, makes a lot of sense for the way it was written. It was just hard to understand it first. And then I read The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I love that book. I rated it 4 stars. It's written by a man in 1936, I believe, and kind of just the Black experience in America during that time, like after the Civil War, after World War II, and kind of just how they're navigating 1936. It'll be on the screen. But I really love the way that it was written, and I really want to read more books by James Baldwin. Next, I read Beg, Borrow, or Steal at the end of January. So like all of these books have been January. I read a lot of books in January. But I then read Beg, Borrow, or Steal. It was the January book club book for Sarah Crowley's Patreon book club, and I really enjoyed it. This is actually the 3rd in Interconnected Standalone series. I did not read the first 2. I just went into this one, but I really enjoyed it. I rated it 4.5 stars. It's about these 2 English teachers that they've known each other. It's been like an academic rivalry since college, and they cannot stand each other, and he moves away, and she's finally like, this is my space. I can finally breathe. I'm so sick of him. But then he comes back. And it's kind of this whole thing where she's very closed off, very cold to a lot of people, but it's more so that she's just trying to protect her family, that like she is the older sister, she's always taking care of others, and no one's ever taking care of her, so she's very like, not cold to others because she's very like nice, she's just very like, the way she speaks is just to make ends meet and not to super get involved with people because she doesn't want to let anyone in. I really love how they wrote that dynamic in and being able to be in her POV. It would be interesting to go back and read the first 2 to kind of see how her personality looked like to her sisters. So the first 2 books are about her, 2 of her sisters, a sister and a brother. And then the next book I think is gonna be about the youngest sister. But I absolutely ate this up. She has been like secretly writing a romance novel and then accidentally sends it to her boss, and since it's a small town and everyone talks, everyone knows everything within 5 minutes, and you go into the hair salon and people are talking, and then you'll see that person 5 minutes later, and like very small town vibes. And so she wants to make sure that he never sees it, so she has to ask for help. And so she asks her academic rival nemesis, who just became her neighbor, to help her out. And it's a lot of fun. I was kicking my feet and giggling. There's a lot of banter that I absolutely could not get enough of. But it's just a 4.5. Normally 5 star is like, I'm like sobbing. It like hits a specific part of me that it's like, this is a 5 star. And I just like have that feeling. So the first book of February, I read Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. I rated it a 3.5. Thoreau advocates for nonviolent protests in his classic manifesto. Motivated by his disgust in the U.S. government, Henry David Thoreau seminal philosophical essays enjoins individuals to stand against the ruling forces that seek to erase their free will. It is a duty of a good citizen, he argues, not only to disobey a bad law, but also to protest against unjust government. I'll just leave that there. I did rate it a 3.75, no, 3.5. I love the information that he was giving. It was just, I didn't like the way that it was written. It was just hard for me to really digest it. So like, I don't blame the book, and also like because of the time that it was written, it was very different. But there were a couple times that it just seemed like it didn't flow very well. What did I leave as my like review? So for impact, I had put, it was a 3.5 on impact. It was educational, provocative, and thought-provoking. The structure, I only gave 3 stars. It addresses counter-arguments, balanced perspectives, cohesive, but lacks focus. And then writing style was a 3 for me. It was accessible and conversational and very stylistically unique. It was just hard to completely wrap it all together in my brain, which could be fault of me, not fault of the book. I don't know. That was just my experience with reading it. But the overall rating on Fable is a 3.75, so I didn't rate it much lower than like the average person. The next book I read was We Should All Be Feminists. I absolutely loved that book. Oh my god, it's written as just like a TED Talk. Basically, like it was a TED Talk that she had given that you get a little bit of information about it before, and then it's just a speech. And oh my god, I was literally just like, yes, yes, yes. And I absolutely loved it because the way that she explains like that we should all be feminists, that it's like, oh well, feminists like have body hair. She's like, well, I'm a feminist that's changed. Oh well, feminists are blah blah blah. Like, okay, well, I'm a feminist that blah. And then she just kept changing the word that she would use like after feminist. She's like, okay, well, I'm a feminist that does this, 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 this. It's like, okay, just because you have this idea of what being a feminist is, doesn't mean that that is the only example of what a feminist is. No one else can be a feminist because they don't look, sound, act like this. And she was just like, okay, and? I really like that. Then I read Ain't I a Woman, sobbed about it. Oh my god. But Sojourner Truth, I get a lot into it in one of my mental health vlogs that will be coming soon. I need to edit it. But basically Sojourner Truth, so I won't get too much into it because I like go more in depth there because it's like right after I read it and I'm still like crying from it. But basically Sojourner Truth is a woman who was born into slavery and escaped enslavement when she was 30 years old. And she goes on for like 20 years going around and speaking at protests and at conferences and everything. And the book that I read, it was written from the perspective of a little girl and her brother that were like 11 and 12 that go to see one of her speeches, the Ain't I a Woman speech in Ohio at a conference where they were talking about women having the right to vote. And she has this amazing speech. It's just like from this little girl's perspective of her being there with her brother. And then it jumps to the future of that little girl being a grandma and women having the right to vote. But at that point, Sojourner Truth is already dead. She never got to see it. And I broke. Oh my god. I can't. Okay, I can't. 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars. Read it. And there's a bunch of other books. She also wrote away her autobiographical rights to an author to be able to write her biography. I don't really know how that worked with biography versus autobiography, but she gave someone permission and a bunch of information, like interviews and stuff, to have someone write her autobiography. So I do really want to read that. 5 stars. Amazing. No. And then listen to Felling Poems by Reginald Dwayne Becks. That was so good. I definitely recommend the audiobook, like the audio version. I listened to it on Hoopla and like got it from my library. And I rated it 4 stars. But when you listen to it, it's the actual author who is reading you his poetry that he wrote about prison, about his time in prison, and about other people that he knows, time in prison, what the prison system does, how it affects people, how it affects families, and The poetry is beautifully written. There's like little musical intros to the different poems, and I really loved it. And then listen to Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis. This I rated 4.5 stars. I really loved this book for the information that it was giving, but it was really hard. I really wanted to rate it a 5 stars because of how much I loved it, but it was basically an amalgamation of different essays and conversations, speeches that she's giving, different interviews, and it's all put together. And it's a lot of really amazing information about how freedom is a constant struggle. But because it was a non-edited version of all of these different conversations, there's times that she talks about the same thing multiple times. And so it was just very repetitive. And it was kind of hard to like listen to them like, oh yeah. And so the second time she says it, it's reiterating, like it's like, oh yeah, this is important, this is good information, and hearing it multiple times, you can put it to memory a lot easier and stuff like that. But by the 4th or 5th time that a part would be said, I'd just be like, yes, like I really understand that. I just also want to know more, like what else do you have to say, kind of. So that was why it was a 4.5 and not 5. But I definitely love like all the information that was given nonetheless. And then let's do Sister Outsider. It was by Audre Lorde. It was beautifully written. I gave it 5 stars. This was another poetry one. This one I had so many things on my thing that were already 5 stars. The Impact, 5 stars. Captivating, educational, engaging, exhilarating, life-changing, motivational, moving, thought-provoking, and timely. Research, accurate, evidence-based, in-depth analysis, personal experience, scientific, thorough, and well-researched. Structure, balanced perspective, chronological, clear thesis, cohesive, easy to follow, flows well, well argued, well organized, well paced. Writing style, 5 stars. Beautifully written, easy to read, conversational, and relatable. Content warnings, bigotry, death, domestic violence, grief, racism, religious intolerance, violence, and war violence. 5 stars. Sister Outsider. Read that shit. Oh my god, it was so good. At some point within here, I then reread Onyx Storm. So I read Onyx Storm twice so far this year. And then my most recent book, which has been this month, was Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm also in the middle of a couple, but I haven't finished it yet, and it's now the last day of the month, so I will not be finishing them. But Sunrise on the Reaping broke me. I tried to do like a video of like my reaction and talking about it during, like, while listening to the audiobook, because it was while I was on a 13-hour road trip, so I literally listened to it cover, like, an audio, and I was literally driving, and it's midnight, and I'm sobbing, like, choking for air. I can't breathe because I'm so devastated. Like, I knew this was gonna be hard. I love Haymitch so much. I've always loved him as a character. I always related with him the most, that I was just like, the thought of going through one of these, I'd be like, yeah, I'd become an alcoholic and hate the world and just be like, figure it out, kid. Like, I hope you die. Like, he's just hoping that they die in there so they don't have to go through what he went through and then have it, like, things we know. I will not do any spoilers, but I'm going to remind people of what a spoiler is, because I've seen a lot of discourse on TikTok about different things that they're talking about. One, this is a prequel about Haymitch's story. Things we know from books 1, 2, and 3. Haymitch is in the Hunger Games. Haymitch is the victor of his Hunger Games. Haymitch was in the second quarter quell, where he was in there with 49 other people instead of 23 like all the other ones. At least 49 people, children, die. And it was so much. There's so much more than that I was just crying so much during this. It broke me. There's so many little things in there. But yeah, so when people say like, oh yeah, and then Haymitch won, that's not a spoiler. He's alive in books 1, 2, and 3. Therefore, he won his games. You know what I mean? So that's not a spoiler. There's little Easter eggs of information that I absolutely loved. And Suzanne Collins always comes out with a book when she has something to say, and people need to listen. There's so many amazing points made. It was beautiful, a beautiful read, just in general. Read it. It was beautiful for the people who have been reading all of these books, have watched all the movies and everything. It was a perfect summary. That epilogue broke me. The epilogue is after the Hunger Games trilogy, so it's like, I know a lot of people have been wanting more from the story, but I feel like she gave that, like gave a little bit in that epilogue, which I really love. And I love Haymitch so much more now, and all I can think about is that Finnick is my favorite character, and that I've wanted a Finnick story for so long, and now I'm afraid. I'm afraid to have a Finnick story, because if this is what you do to me in a Haymitch story, what are you gonna do to me in Finnick's? Oh my god, I can't. No, like, Suzanne, Suze, please, rip my heart out gently. Gently. Oh my god. But that brings us to the end of all the books I've read for this quarter. I'm currently reading Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver for a nice little cowboy romance, lighthearted, single dad, pop star moment. I'm absolutely loving it so far. Probably gonna rate it right now, it's like a 4-star. I definitely have the potential to be like a 4.5. I don't know if I'm feeling 5-star feels, just because like, but that's no fault of the book. It is the fault of the fact that I read Sunrise on the Reaping. I read Onyx Storm, started 4 other books, couldn't get through them, read Sunrise on the Reaping, and then it tore my heart out. So I'm trying to not let that dictate my feelings towards this book. That's why I was like, skirt cowboy romance. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna get out of here and go enjoy San Francisco. Today I'm going to the Golden Gate Bridge, which will be fun. And make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can see the vlogs that are coming of this trip, the vlogs of moving to Japan, the vlogs of the road trip, the vlogs of everything basically. And I've also got some videos coming up of favorite book boyfriends, book girlfriends, all combined, favorite book partners that are on my top list. I've got some videos, just a lot of videos coming up. And if you've missed any of these other ones that I've talked about, like reading vlogs that I've done, those are all linked. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, comment down below letting me know. Subscribe to my socials that are all down in the description box right down there. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!